Hey everybody, welcome to Radical Books and Politics. My name is Jesus Estrada. You're listening to the songs of Adam Gottlieb of One Love. And we thought today we'd talk about a number of things. Last week we were talking about racism and how to really how to radicalize, or how to talk about the differences between what it means to be woke and what it means to be, beyond that. So I think our third co-host is here. Anyway, we have the pleasure of having Kitty de la Sombra back. And I hope this
Hi.
is watching Misael. Welcome, viewers. So what we really wanted to talk about, okay, that's it. This is going to drive me crazy. I'm on spring break, and I made the mistake of walking around town before I brush my hair, but that's okay. Here.
Well, happy spring break.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I so needed it. I filed one more grievance this morning, and then I was out. Okay, it's just going to be messy hair day. Pretend I just got back from the beach, which is not true, but use our imaginations. So we want to talk about the victory of the Amazon workers, and also talk about I can't remember her name. What was the name of the justice that they took forever to swear her in?
I'm terrible at name recall, but I'll pull it right now.
Yeah, that judge, and I was getting angry, and I'm not saying that she's perfect, but definitely there was a lot of bias when it came to voting for her, and they put her through the ringer. And if she'd have been a dude, I don't think it would have been the same thing. So anyway,
I
Hi,
found her name.
how are you?
we're talking about the justice whose name I can't remember, African American woman who they were taking forever to vote her in, and had it been some other dude, maybe if he'd have been a black judge, it would have been the same. But it was just ridiculous.
Are you talking about in Chicago?
No, in the federal courts. Oops.
Oh, Kitani Brown
Kentucky
Jackson.
Jackson. I just got made sure. Oh, thank you. You're awesome. So let's talk about those two things. So I'm on spring break. This is why I look like crap, but we're good. Kitty, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm actually at home. I'm in Chicagoland because
Nice.
I have medical treatments tomorrow in Chicago. So I got to spend yesterday with my daughter. It was wonderful. She threw up on me for the first time, which, as I understand, is a milestone in being a dad. So
it is. My son puked, peed, and pooped on me, and my husband nothing. And my daughter, she didn't do any of that. So I don't know. I wonder if she got him. But it was pretty funny because this wasn't like normal sized poop. I'm talking like drenched. Anyway, you remember when you got pooped? I mean, pooped or puked on?
Well, me?
yeah.
No, man. I remember. No, I can't remember the last time my daughter was 19.
You started to forget how old you get.
Actually, today was her first day at work.
Oh, wow! Congratulations.
So she went to work, and
I'm just gonna know how much it sucks. Just kidding.
I think I think speaking of unions, she's gonna join the union.
Yeah, I hope so.
That's awesome.
So let's talk about this amazing milestone. Chris Smalls and his friend who did a fantastic job. And originally, the reason they were unhappy was because they didn't have enough PPE, which is, I don't remember the acronym for it now, but that's a protection you get for against COVID. And so he went and complained, and I believe shortly after that he was fired. But what did you think about that victory? Because it's a huge labor victory. It's not in the public sector, as you know. Amazon is a company, and there's a Starbucks also that's been trying to organize. And you see these expressions in companies like McDonald's, but this is the first time that the union won the vote because Amazon has been so good at misinforming workers and threatening them. And I got a funny story to tell you about my dad, but we'll get to that. So what did you think about that victory, Kitty or Misael, whoever wants to go first?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was one of the greatest news that I ever heard so far this year, this decade.
Yeah.
Because Amazon is very notorious for mistreating their workers, and I was reading about what they had to go through, like to the point, how everything right there when they're doing a job for Amazon, the timing has to be precise, you know,
Right.
that, and there's no time for anything other than what you're set to do. And it was getting to the point where the workers were at a disadvantage where they even had to pee in bottles, you
Yeah.
know, because they couldn't take the time necessary to go use the restroom. And Amazon is has poor retention for keeping their workers. You know,
Right.
they can't retain their workers because they're constantly letting them go. And as far as I remember reading, is uh, 50 African Americans were 50% more likely to be recycled, or not recycled. What, that's a bad word. To
Turned
be
over.
turned over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was really bad what I was reading, but that's why I felt so excited
Yeah.
for the Amazon workers, and I hope the other Amazon fact stores and warehouses catch a break too, and are able to do something like that, because the Amazon, if whatever you do to Amazon right now, you're gonna best believe it's gonna be able to happen to the rest of all these other corporations that are just hammering the workers with a shitload of work
Right.
and not enough whatever they need, you know. So
Like Starbucks and Yeah, Kitty, what did you think?
Well, I have so someone in my family, well, family, let's say, like chosen family, worked for Amazon. I'm going to call that person Terry so that I'm not gendering, so there's no giving away even male or female. So Terry worked for Amazon, does not anymore, was fired for taking time off for bereavement, but was not fired for more than 2 months after, was not even allowed an appeal. But during the time that Terry worked there, um, even though Terry had to drive nearly, was it 90 minutes? But like over an hour, between an hour and 2 hours to get to work, was given split shifts. So like worked in the morning and then worked again in the afternoon.
Ugh.
So Terry would literally drive there, then in between shifts, sit in the car because they were not being made, like they were not making enough income to be able to drive home and then drive back.
Mhm.
And the bosses were aware, like the schedulers, and would not change it.
Mhm.
So I think that's one of the things, like in a union, because I mean, I'm my father was a Ford union member, 30 years on the line, making Ford cars, and union, I was raised to firmly believe in unions. When I worked in a grocery store, I signed up for union the day that I could. Um, I'm scared of some of the Amazon stuff I'm reading today. I jumped online a little bit before sitting down to do the show and seeing that they are trying to overturn the Staten Island thing because they may have the ACLU may have brought in marijuana. Um, that the communication app in Amazon, they want to Amazon wants to switch out which app is being used for the intra
Oh, I see.
communication, and it would have a bunch of forbidden words and phrases that just would not go through. So it's like I'm so excited to see, like, there's landmark, there's precedent
Right.
being set, and then is that going to be lost immediately? Like that's terrifying.
Well, power won't concede, and even though it's one place, I'm sure Bezos doesn't want it spreading. And I'm sure you've all heard about the memo that said that Chris Moss was unintelligent and inarticulate, and anything could be further from the truth. What I did hear him say is that he was going to create a national movement that was revolutionary. And that to me is something that's different from other organizing efforts because he's not stopping just with his shop. He's going to take it across the country, But it is a huge victory. I hope it's just not in one place. And the reality is, Bezos is he's not going to spend that wealth in his lifetime. What does it
No.
matter if he gives a living wage or if he allows people to work the schedules they need to? Because you know they're making money hand over fist, and they're going to make more money if there's another people not wanting to go out because of COVID, right? I actually shop more than I did before that pandemic because I would never. I'm talking like never shop clothes on Amazon, and now I do. And so it's like they got a huge market. Look at how much produce they have now, and all these other. That's where I get my lizards food. Um, oh, here we go. Somebody is posting an action that's happening. Thank you, Hawkeye. It says Thursday 11:30 press conference, Costner Division, Amazon Chicago Distribution Center. Black Workers Matter. Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for that. And I'm assuming that's this coming Thursday. But I'm glad that Chris and his team are taking the conversation nationally. But it's a lot to fight against the bosses, especially if they're taking you to sit in rooms to watch anti-union propaganda. I was going to tell you a story about my dad. My dad was a farm worker, and he came to pick cotton along the Mississippi Cotton Belt, and he was very aware of Jim Crow. But then he settled in Arizona where he became a citrus farm worker. And at the time, like the 1970s, Cesar Chavez, who he and Dolores Huerta and other organizers developed the United Farm Workers movement, and it was huge because they didn't have homes, they didn't have bathrooms, they didn't have leave, they were threatened with deportation, they lived in subhuman conditions, and so the union really helped to remedy conditions in California, though it's not perfect. So they were coming to organize workers in Arizona, where my dad was at, and the managers convinced my dad that the unions were evil, they shouldn't organize, and they literally stood around the orchard fields with guns so the organizers wouldn't come. So they never organized the citrus workers. They were still working on it when Cesar Chavez died on his way to Yuma, which is where I'm from. But he did manage to organize the lettuce workers. The lettuce workers have pensions. They make good money. They don't work in high heat. But you see, they also follow EPA rules, and where my dad works, none of that. No pension, no benefits, just empty promises. So unions matter. I'm an active union organizer. I mean, I'm a chapter chair, but I do organize in my union too. But and if it weren't for the union, I wouldn't have pay raises. I wouldn't have vacation and working conditions, a system of termination, so they just can't fire you arbitrarily. Because I've been in those jobs too, and I'm not an ass kisser. So if the boss didn't like me, I was out, and so it's just very easy to be used to a system that they exploit you. I had a friend who worked at a Dairy Queen in Yuma, though, and there's some law in Arizona. Back at the time, he wasn't paid a minimum wage. He was paid like $2 an hour, and I was like, "What?" But he had no protections, so that's just terrible. But I applaud Chris Small, and I'm talking a lot, but it's very easy for the bosses to take control and to lie to the workers and talk about how terrible unions are and spread lies. But hopefully he'll inspire other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, my.
Oh, you know what? Damn, you know what? As you were saying that, when you start talking about like Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta is still around.
Yeah, yeah, she is.
I in the context of what the Amazon Workers Union was facing at the beginning stages when they were trying to start up, and versus the trials and tribulations of the farm workers when they were even opposed by other union
Yeah,
people like the Teamsters,
yeah, yeah,
and which is you're opposed by the Teamsters is like, damn, man, that's a shitload. But like they persevere, and things happen. My only hope is that um there's global support,
yeah,
that
yeah.
there's
You're
global
absolutely right.
support, and not just it's just not Staten Island.
Yeah,
We need global support to take on these corporations. They're everywhere. They're even
yeah,
trying to be in outer space,
yeah, for sure. I
so
mean, that's what SpaceX is about. I couldn't believe it. You know that Elon Musk owns more than 50% of the NASA shares.
I didn't realize it was over
It's
50%.
it's
No.
incredible, and it's corporatized, and so their main research now is colonizing Mars. They just haven't figured out how to grow food and make it last that long for the mission. But I bet you that's for the escape pods for all the rich and the bourgeoisie, and they're all going to take off on their spaceships to colonize
Look
Mars
at that.
behind in a depleted planet.
Uh,
I'm telling you, they got
I,
their escape plan.
I better not hear anything about having a problem with hiring illegal aliens when they're doing space work because I got jokes for that.
Shoot.
When they're starting their little cities up in the moon.
Yeah, right.
But
Hey,
yeah,
so how about we share? I got a poem. Let me actually, so if one of y'all want to share a poem, I
yeah. No,
actually have
you
a
go
really
ahead.
good one.
Go
You
ahead.
should go first this
Me?
week.
Okay, I gotta find it though. But I wrote it. It's called The Brittle Tree. I don't think I have it on my website. So, oh come on, this is gonna take forever. This is what happens when you don't memorize your work, Jesus.
Real quick while you're looking for it, and say, I think it's awesome that your university that you all are unionized, because like that was one problem that we would run into, those of us who were not allowed to be tenure tracked, because if masters only, you can't tenure track. So we also did not have a union. And so if you, even if you were multi-year contracted, it was year-to-year renewal, and you just had to hope that you were not eliminated due to an unforeseen budgetary issue.
Right.
So I think that's awesome that in city colleges you have that.
And it's a community college, but there are universities that are unionized. We just happen to have one of the best contracts, I think. And I'm not just saying that because I was in the bargaining team last time. I'm on the bargaining team this time, and it's going to be a huge fight. But yeah, I think as a graduate student, it's exploitative. The amount of money you make is a pittance, right? So you have to be very careful. But there were the graduate students at the universities were trying to get unionized exactly for these issues because they weren't getting paid a fair wage. They were at will employees. I remember when I was a graduate student in Washington State, they took away the insurance for dependents over the summer and just were very sneaky. It's like any system you're in. When they want to do really punitive crap, they do it in the summer. So I'm gonna read this poem. It's called "The Brittle Tree," and I dedicated it to my father. I had to spit one out before this economic system chews more people, swallows the menteritos, se traga al pobre obrero. There goes my neighbor, citrus farm worker of 30 years, seeped in pesticides, company too cheap to follow EPA standards, cancer consuming him daily, down the gullet for profit, sin pension, sin healthcare, eaten alive for decades, with promises of the American dream fused to his bones and muscles that have known merciless heat, constant sweat mingled with tears. Now, he's just the dried husk of an orange left out too long in the desert sun. He is the orchard, the brittle tree, ready to be burnt. And I thought the most uplifting poems. But it's thank you. So, all right. Anybody else want to hit one up?
Well,
It
yeah.
doesn't have to be about labor.
Well, I wanted to. Well, so there's background to this, and it's related. So when I was reading about the anti-unionization propaganda that was being made, so how they were finding out who was being dropped in, the workers who weren't hired to be workers but were brought in from corporate, put into the I don't know if it was the factories or distribution centers, I don't remember from that, but I read an article about this the other day, that what they were doing in that one plant in Alabama was to have people come in from New York and talk about, and it specifically said they were bringing in Caucasian and Hispanic workers. And so they would, and then they would have them like have conversations with other workers, and they would actually do the work next to people, like actually work as if they had those jobs, and they would have name tags just like everyone else.
Right.
But they were like, what people realized was they were kind of obfuscating those, especially their last names. Well, people started trying to figure out who's who was new, who was hiding their name tags,
Hmm.
running the names, realizing I don't know if it was because they were coded differently or if they were finding these people online or how they were doing it, but then they were putting out flyers to the other workers with these people's pictures on them. I think just copies of, like, essentially the work ID from the system. Like, these people are not your coworkers. These people are corporate employees.
Right.
This is how much money this person really earns.
Wow.
And when I was looking at that, what I thought about was what we did in the research writing class that I was teaching. That I can't take credit for this project. This project was designed by Karen Bishop Morris, who started it in I don't remember the first college that she started it at before she came to Purdue University and then made it a thing that every English 105 class did. But it was writing to affect change in somewhere. So like workplace writing. And so one of the things that a group might do, because it's a group project, would be they would research something, they would write regular papers about it, but then they would create a business plan or something like that. But one of the options would be like something like that, like they could do an organized, like, union organization plan would have been an option. And I thought about how many times I had students who would come and be like, I can't do a group project. I can't. I've had so many bad experiences.
Right.
And just like working through and talking through it with them, and some of the because they had to, it was a mandated exit for the class. So I was thinking a lot about how I have in past years, like, taught in a way that, because my driving force of teaching was always to not do what my first English instructor in college did to me, which was because I went to college, I was in English 104 the semester of Columbine, and it was just, I had a really bad experience with being a goth kid in that. So and so this poem, which is called Teacher Number 5 and 17, revised after I'd walked out the door. And so it's the last version of one that I wrote when I was still teaching.
Okay, great.
My life will never be a song we deconstruct, analyze, put on the projector screen. I never learned to pull down and put up smoothly in 14 years. They don't teach that in practicum. We analyze it, peel it like an apple, peel it like an onion. I teach with metaphors. I'm just trying to be who I wanted, standing in the front of the room, not a fake tie and title power-wielding suit like a barrister's powdered wig of old. My life will always be those years in those classroom walls, and I've seen me a few times behind dark glasses, dark eyes and wristbands marked, but getting good marks. Missing classes, but with classy apologies, never quite meeting my eyes with lies of omission. And I've seen me in eyes glazed, silent despite desperation. I see the ghosts, they're barely escaping, present but lacking presence, pretense dripping, soaking through sleeves, asking for more time as seconds tick away. Every movement of the clock palpable of us both. And I said yes, because I've been there too. I hope I saved some incarnation of me one of those years within those classroom walls.
That's good. Thank you.
I'm
Are you
blushing. I'm sorry. It's been that kind of day. Woo! It's been that kind of week. Um, yeah, I said that was a beautiful piece, and I love how it was told from two different points of Kitty, but or really a person in general that's been othered. But I thought it was really good. It was awesome. Besides,
yeah,
you want to read a piece?
yeah, I'll read a piece. Um I I am a man at war with the prison system, on a lyrical mission to free the children. The ancestors teach me about how to win victory. My rhymes defeat billionaires and sucker MCs. Riding with the wolves to go and roll on my foes. Unleashing metaphors to rock the beautiful. Gorgeous, sweet, sexy nurse who works to cleanse the hurt in emergencies where we uplift the street curse. By being true to ancestral roots in the booth, soaring like the bald eagle with a strong outlook. Over avenues and dark alleys full of scrawl, with dreamers and taggers hitting up names roll call. Standing under streetlight where we're true and brave, where we gather to chill cause we've just worked all day. We moved and still playing oldies to ease our moods as young warriors in a dangerous neighborhood. I'm the lyricist writing with a sweet woman, dreaming the world into being like a shaman, as her melody soothes me to flow real suave in honor of the duende near the sweet agave, supplying the doctor's medicine with the wolf. I'm rocking rhymes in the booth, speaking to the youth, because freedom songs inspire the youth and the restless with courageous hearts when the world wants to test. I'm a speeding bullet living to the fullest, believing I'm breathing to release classic hits. Making money is a curse if you're full of greed. Don't respect billionaires when kids sleep on the concrete. The crowd roars at my shows when I let them all know. Fighting injustice provides you with a bold soul, and the word doctor is here to uplift the curse, bringing a cool sudden breeze when I spit and swerve.
Oh, love it, love it.
Thank you.
I was gonna share a speech with you all, and it's not necessarily about Amazon workers, but this motion of people wanting change, right? And so I think that whether it's families wanting the COVID funds to be spent on their kids, public schools not to have their budget cuts, Amazon workers wanting rights, all these things. So my son had a parade recently because he won a congressional seat in his classroom. It's like a little government classroom, and they have a say in a number of school policies. But there was this young girl who I believe she is in fifth grade who gave this fantastic speech. So I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to cue it and then share it. And see if I can get to 23, 27. And mind you, I always get impressed with my son because he's just turned 12, but he's pretty astute and it calls BS. So we were having a really interesting discussion about the Amazon workers and all, but I think you'll enjoy this. So let me share. Where is it? Share screen. Oh, come on, just accept. Oh, come on. Hold on, give me a moment. Sorry. Oh, okay, now it's doing it. All right, I don't understand you. It was like, give me crap, and I was like, it's okay. You can do whatever you want. All right, can you see the screen okay? Yeah?
I know I can.
Okay. If you can, then you're gonna have
I
to
can.
Cool. I'm gonna rewind a little bit because she had interesting things to say about African American leaders. So let me see if okay, here we go. Okay, apparently.
My name is Sombra.
No, not that. Oh well.
Congratulations to all the senators and representatives. Great job of showing leadership.
Can you hear it okay, or is it too low?
Entire year, and I really hope that you enjoy my speech. Thank you so much. Dr. Mandela was a South African political leader, social rights activist, anti-apartheid revolutionary, and philanthropist who served as the first Black president of South Africa from 1994 to 1998. His government focused on dismantling the legacy of apartheid by tackling institutionalized racism and fostering racial reconciliation. He directly campaigned on peaceful, nonviolent defiance against the South African government and its racist policies for more than 2 decades. In 1994, after Dr. Mandela was elected president in
Well,
South
she goes
Africa,
on. I don't know if you can hear it very well, but she basically calls and she says that it's the youth of the energy that's going to carry the future forward. And I love that. I love that spirit. She spoke to systemic racism and other systems of oppression, but it was really good. Yeah, okay, I see you. It's a little trickier than that. So she's telling me I should close caption, but it's not that easy. The YouTube will automatically do closed captions, but if you want to close caption, you kind of have to pay for the service. But anyway, so I was just so moved that this young girl in the 5th grade was so revolutionary in her thinking, like really wanting social change. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that at the same time, like you all pointed out, that they're not going to give up their power easily, whether it's spending money, infiltrating organizations, not allowing people to communicate or whatever. They're going to try and squash that. So we really need to be in solidarity, not just with the Amazon workers, but Starbucks workers and others, you know. And I think you and I were talking about this last time. You said that conditions are speeding up rapidly, right? They are. They're accelerating, and we also have to be ready to respond. You know, um, but yeah. So there's a lot. I mean, there's like this urgency to do more because things are speeding up, but at the same time we have to be aware of our limitations. So it's just we have to be able to hit where we're at, whether it's through cultural work like this or whether it's educating people or organizing. But it's there's a lot that needs to be done, and we have to be savvier about it. Anyway, so let's talk about Contanja Brown. Oh my God, did you watch any of those hearings? I got to tell you, I got sick of it after a while. That I was like, racist motherfuckers, just vote her in. It was like, what is going on? And just so blatantly sexist too. That they would have done that to a male. It was just ridiculous. But did you get to watch any of that, Miss Ael? Oh, you're muted.
I haven't watched it. I have not.
Well, it's a victory. I mean, having an African American woman, and she's not going to be hopefully a conservative piece of poopies like some of these other attorneys. But it's not to say that she's perfect either. I mean, one of the things that they were trying to bust her for was saying that she wasn't hard on crime. And so I'm thinking maybe she was actually fair. Like, what does even hard on crime mean these days? Does that mean you have a disproportionate number of black and brown people in jail? Like, what? So
That's exactly what it means.
I was anyway, let me see if I got another poem. This time I'm gonna try and pull it from my website. How's the sound? Does it sound good? I should have probably started. Hey, do I sound good?
I think everybody's I don't know about my own. I know
Sound good.
sound
I'm used
good.
to having my big computer and I left it at home because I'm on vacation, spring break. But the Wi-Fi is kind of shoddy. And I was cracking up because my kids couldn't figure out how to use the remote control. And I'm like, how do you make the channels come out? Like, where's Cartoon Network? Well, I got a short one that's kind of funny, but the Wi-Fi is kind of crap. So let me find another one that I think you will enjoy. And this one again, let me see. Nah, not that. So it's so interesting where the last thing I opened, I'm like, what is that doing there? Let's see. Here's one that's kind of well, it's a different kind of exploitation. And I wrote it after. Actually, it was inspired by these activists from Colombia who were fighting Driscoll, and it was a international labor issue. And the problem was that they were basically getting paid a pittance for their work. And you think Driscoll Berries? I mean, you would have been outraged not only at what they were paying the workers, but how they were treated, and children working in the fields, and it was just awful. So this is a poem called "Que se muera de sed," which it's just coming out in the Inner Circle Writers Group, Poetica #5. So thank you, Grant, for publishing my piece. It's called Que se mueran de sed, which means, well, I'll tell you what it means later because I don't want to give it away. Quieren todos los turistas, ojos, pupils glistening full de colores, naranjas y reds, noses imbued with earth and chili smells. 20 imperialist cash, no pesos, begs the exhausted street vendor whose atoms have surpassed eons. But turistas, if you want agua pura, you'll have to steal from Corona and so many corporate rateros who suck vida from earth and bottle their wares, who sell to turistas like you, rateros, who then sell filthy death water at inhumane precios like in Mexicali and the Driscoll blueberry fields of Colombia, where starving children must drink the backwash from companies. Quieren todos los turistas, las corporaciones too. Let them die of thirst. That's what the title means. Let them die of thirst. Because the other really ridiculous thing is that they were polluting the water, right? Because companies don't have to follow uh, any environmental standards, and even if the country has really high environmental standards, it doesn't mean that they're being enforced. So Mexico actually has a really good environmental program, but you wouldn't know it, you know. So the workers in Colombia were protesting and just asking for a little pay raise, but just treated horribly. After that, I've stopped eating Driscoll berries for a long time, you know. So anyway, one more round, and then I think I'm tired. I think this is gonna be a 45-minute episode. You want to share
Yeah,
a piece?
it's fine. It's fine. I really, I'm digging the poetry. Every time I hear someone read their poem, I always gotta be like, I gotta try that. I gotta try. I gotta try writing something like that. And I remember, I remember I was such a, I was very playful. I was very playful with my writing. I would like to create like images of, I don't know. I try to make it seem like it was a comic book or something like that. I'll try to bring that flavor, right? When I hear you read your poems, when you're using your Spanish and your rhyming and your rhythm, I sound like that sounds really nice. Talking about justice, and I look at my poems, and I'm like, I could make them more. I don't know what the word is, but there's
push
something I
towards
want to.
the
When I hear other people's poetry, it makes me want to explore their type of style.
right?
It makes me want to explore because I've been doing just structured. My poems, they look like this. I don't
No,
know.
I
Let me
know
see.
they're four stanzas, four quatrains.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
quatrain. So I miss prose. Is that what it is? Yeah, that's what it is.
Free verse, prose.
Yeah,
I
free
enjoy
verse.
narrative poetry. I do a lot of imagery. It's unstructured, really. And on the other hand, I heard this I don't normally like rhyming poems, but this brother read this piece on justice, and it was so good. I could probably cue it up if I can find it. But I think there's something to be said for the beautifully structured poem, you know, and it'll come. I think one of the things poets don't do, and I actually learned this from Masavio, but I was already doing it to a degree. It's good to research your poems, even if you know everything about it, even if it's about your life. So one of the things, a lot of research actually went into that poem, even though it may not seem like it, because I read articles about it. I went to a panel and learned about it, and some of it was personal research for the other one because I remember that the company was falsifying EPA certifications and asking workers to just sign it. In the meantime, they weren't wearing the protective gear when they were using pesticides, But it's important to research. I think it adds depth, even if you just have one line. Like I read another poem where I quoted Trump, and I wouldn't have known it was Trump had I not been reading articles regularly. You know what I mean? It was a poem about peace and the Ukraine and whatnot. But I think that might help. But you don't want to proselytize. See, I don't like to be like fuck capitalism all the time in my poetry either. I like to tell the story of the exploited worker or something horrible that's happening that maybe a lot of people don't know about, but workers experience. Whether it's the Southwest or the factory or the packing house. This thing you were talking about earlier with the Amazon workers having to pee in bottles. People in packing houses have to do it too. The people who used to work the Purdue chicken used to pee in the chickens because, and it grossed me out when I found that out. Because they didn't let them go to the bathroom. What were they supposed to do? So I always tell my husband, rinse the shit out of the chicken. You just rinse the shit out of everything. You just don't know, right? Because even if it says triple wash, and again, I don't blame the workers, but when they're on that time frame, when they have to work faster than machines and they don't get bathroom breaks, it's unconscionable, man. So yeah, sorry, Kitty.
It's okay. Like I have a thing with food.
Oh,
So it's not. It's pretty much anything. I have a thing with food. You will never see food poetry from me. Promise.
if you think about it, though, if you're being made to work extra hard, no matter what industry it is, you're bound to cut corners. You know, who knows what the worker's going to do. Plantations. One of the industries that's horrible is the pork industry. And when Trump was in office, he actually reduced standards and asked that a person like produce, I don't know, slaughter however many pigs. And it was like, this is ridiculous. They're bound to get hurt. They're gonna cut themselves. You know, like what the fuck, you know? But there's a lot to be said, and how much better things are. Like I always compare the workers when I go back home and see how much better this group of workers that's unionized is treated than the others. Not to say that it's not difficult work because it is very hard work, you know. But yeah. Anyway, anybody wanna? Well, hey, what should we theme for next time? You got any ideas?
I don't know, but I have a poem.
All right, let's hear it.
While you guys think of something.
Yeah.
And this is one of those free verse poems. I had it memorized.
Let's hear it.
It memorized. All right. It goes like this. I use the pen like a needle, injecting life into blank sheets and cold streets hungry for heat. My muses are my nurses, assisting me with emergencies to uplift street curses. I photograph life with syntax, display x-rays where bone cracks rupture with spirit and soul. I wipe time dust off ancient Zapotec stone and travel through words like vision calls painted on Los Angeles mural walls, dreaming for the fallen under billboards that graffiti mental halls. RIP is sprayed in aerosol for little dreamers initiated into early falls from grace. I diagnosed the disease of fear clogged artery streets, illing with illiteracy where many shades of skin read gang signs, tattoos, and grins. But some read the bling bling or beauty magazine tips, searching the stock markets or computer chips for truth. And the ancestors don't need proof of what's real to feel the rivers and winds, the moon and stars, the land and sun. And I understand those wounds, glowing in deep, sad darkness, blue moon, mad laughter, amber lava, rock anger. And it's a gift to read these signs that align the universe with time, even more to write what I see, finding the medicine within me, pouring from my skeleton with love and poetic lines. These cable wires I use to restart the heart, and these words I use to restore. Thank you.
Damn, that was tight. And you memorized that whole thing. That's legit.
Yeah.
That is awesome. That is amazing.
I used to get paid $50 to read that poem.
That's awesome.
Where?
Back in Los Angeles, when I worked for a nonprofit, they said, I give you $50 to read that poem. I was like, all right, I'll do it. And I memorized it. I was like, I got paid so many times.
Damn, that's awesome, dude. I gotta say, I have only one poem fully memorized. I'm trying. I learned. I'm trying. I was on a kick one time to memorize a poem a day.
Hey, we should do this next week. We should memorize a poem.
Okay, a new
by
one.
Next week, just one.
All right, let's do it. Okay, we'll memorize one.
I can't.
Okay, that's okay. Kitty, you'll try to perform it in a unique way, like maybe with more hand gestures or I don't know. Try something different.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll try and memorize one. So we'll see what the theme is. And I don't know about Easter, y'all, but maybe the Sunday after, because I know people have things to do. But it was awesome. Thank you for putting up with my low energy. I almost didn't make it. I was like, oh my gosh, it's 3:51. Like going on spring break mode. Anyway, let me play a little bit more of Adam Gottlieb to close us out. This is Libera Radicalmente. which he wrote especially for us. And the song is saying to liberate the people and the children radically. Beautiful. Well, thank you for joining in and watching Radical Books and Politics. And if you like the show, please like and subscribe. And if you want to come on the show, say so in the comments. Have an amazing day. Bye.